time. Or kunin ko yung ano, yung stand. Hawakan mo muna ko yung kunin ko yung stand.
Yeah, paayos.
Oh.
Our weather has turned colder and it's a cold weekend to come. For many areas there'll be some sunshine. High pressure just nosing in here with the flow of air around that is from the north, the chilly one, the sunshine and the scattering of wintry showers. But for Saturday, area of low pressure and some weather fronts just brushing in towards the southeast of England. So a cold rain for some here may just try to sound a bit sleepy to the high ground.
Saan mo kinuha yun? Saan mo kinuha? Akala ko nakuha mo. Kilay time. Wala na kilay. Kailangan palagdagan.
Some snow to high ground, more particularly in Scotland. Much of the UK, a cold day with single-figure temperatures. And as this system falls away on Saturday night, clear skies just about for everyone, and that means a widespread frost going into Sunday morning. High pressure, but still around that flow there from the north or northeast on Sunday. So there'll be some sunny spells. There'll be a cold out there with widespread single-figure temperatures. If you catch a shade, and from this weather front is Northern Ireland and Monday. England, Northern Ireland and Scotland with a large share of the showers here and the chance for seeing some occasional rain, whereas the rest of England and Wales closer to high pressure will see dry, occasionally sunny weather and temperatures back into double figures. Now, if we're going to Tuesday, it's a north-south split.
So,
In the south, you're close to high pressure, so you're likely to be settled. In Scotland and Northern Ireland, you're closer to low pressure, but here the chance certainly is more cloud for some outbreaks of rain, especially in northwest Scotland. Some sunny spells in northern England, but particularly across the rest of England and for Wales. And at this stage, temperatures up to 13, 14 degrees Celsius in Cardiff and London. High pressure still close to the south-southeast of the UK on Wednesday. Low pressure still close to Scotland and Northern Ireland. So here, more cloud, the chance of seeing some rain, whereas the rest of the UK will be mainly dry. Some patchy cloud building after a sunny start, but further sunny spells. And again, more widely those temperatures now into double figures. And as we just look to see how things are for the second half of the week, it looks as if high pressure will head our way from the southwest. So maybe after a largely dry Thursday, an increasing chance things will turn more unsettled again Friday into Saturday, and this time actually coming up from the south. First half of the week here mainly dry, then later in the week turning more unsettled with an increasing chance of seeing some rain. But one thing is for sure, next week temperatures just about wherever you are going to be edging upwards. This is Chester, for example, going with a northerly wind, more of a southerly flow.
Kilay ko kasi makapal na eh.
That means later in the week, after a chilly start to the week, temperatures will be closer to the seasonal average once again. That's your weather for the week ahead.
Suki po yan ni Tita Suki.
This is BBC News. Tributes are being paid from around the world following the death of the Duke of Edinburgh at the age of 19. As the world
Ala si
will be held in the UK.
Si Prince Philip died?
Yeah.
Flags are lowered to half-mast in respect
So, UK ano po tayo?
shared condolences.
His presence and service a reassurance, a reminder of the stability.
UK channel po yan.
Serving royal consorts.
Ah!
A role that he
Sa hindi na naalala.
Here in the UK, a statement by Buckingham Palace speaks of the Queen's deep sorrow at the loss of her beloved husband.
So, uuwi si si Prince Harry.
Wala ma.
Si Prince Harry at si Meghan.
Flags on all government buildings across the United Kingdom are being flown at half-mast to mark the Duke's death. Politicians will deliver their own tributes where Parliament is recalled at Westminster on Monday. Here's our royal correspondent, Daniela.
Ang hirap naman banggitin ang pangalan niyo.
Above the
Wait,
palace where he
Edinburgh?
has spent so much of your working life, and placed on the gate the official announcement of the Duke of Edinburgh's death.
It is to Her Majesty and her family that our nation's thoughts
Ito naman,
stand today.
ano to? Takot sa gunting? Ayaw magpagupit?
A highly respected public figure.
Mga kalbo kaya ng ano.
Kaloka.
A loving father, grandfather, and
Malay mo sisikat yung kanyang buhok.
His presence and significance in
Wow,
British
73 years na
national
silang
life
married.
recognised in the tributes.
The UK has lost an extraordinary public servant in Britain who dedicated his life to our country. And above all, I think, will be remembered for his support and devotion to the Queen. All of our thoughts are with the Queen, the royal family, and the British public as they come together to mourn this huge loss.
Memories of an extraordinary man. A note amongst the flowers left at Windsor when he died this morning. But the remembrance has gone way beyond this royal town.
On behalf of the Welsh Government and people in all parts of Wales, I offer our deepest condolences to Her Majesty the Queen, Her Majesty's children and their families on this sad occasion.
It is with deep sadness that I've learned of the death of His Royal Highness, the Duke of Edinburgh. It is a sadness that I know will be shared by countless others in Northern Ireland and right across the world.
Any family that grew up with a pretty difficult and while they may be public figures, they are also a family that I've met, so I just want to extend my condolences to them. For the Queen's official residence in Scotland, the formal announcement and personal memories. He had a close association, of course, with Scotland. He went to school in Scotland. I know that he enjoyed all of the time he spent at the Royal. He had a very loyal association as Chancellor with the University of Edinburgh. But probably above all of that, the Duke of Edinburgh Awards scheme transformed the lives and gave hope and inspiration to countless numbers of young people. It was back in July that we last saw the Duke of Edinburgh on an official engagement in Windsor. A rare public appearance and a reminder of his role within royal life.
And so it sums up a life lived well and ended well. And I would say across the nation we can look at this life
Tama, dalawa pang
with a
chorizo.
sense of pride,
Ilagyan mo na dyan
a
mamay
deep
pa.
sense of admiration and gratitude.
The royal family will grieve in private for now, but tonight on the Duke and Duchess of Sussex's charity website, a message that thanks the Duke of Edinburgh for his service, saying he'll be greatly missed. He had remained a memorable public figure for so many.
I want to pay respects to Prince Philip because he really like the royal family and I just feel very bad for them what happened.
I suppose it was inevitable for a man who's 99 years of age that this will be the final outcome, but it's sad.
Difficult character, of course, the life as we said, it says in the board as well, that he's got, I hope the royal family. I mean, obviously,
At York Minster, the bells have been rung 99 times at the mark of respect for the Duke's 99 years. It is a tribute that will be repeated across the UK for a man who held a unique place in public life.
But when he appeared with the Queen in public, the Duke of Edinburgh was careful to take second place to Her Majesty. But as our royal correspondent Sarah Campbell reports, behind closed doors, it was the Duke who took the lead, influencing family decisions and driving many reforms.
Great role from the crowd outside Buckingham Palace.
While the Queen took centre stage in public life, when it came to family matters, it was Prince Philip who was in charge. When Elizabeth came to the throne, Philip had to leave the Navy. It was was unusual in the 1950s and 60s for the man of the household to give up his career to support his wife and children. But he had little choice but to fit his life around her unique position, and, as their home movies show, he did so with gusto.
First-hand accounts that I think of, I think you were there at the time, of Prince Philip, not just bathing with the children, playing with the children, reading to the children. He was a hands-on dad.
His was an unusual childhood, split up from his parents and his 4 sisters, one of whom was tragically killed.
The pleasures of family life are enjoyed by the baby's mother and father less frequently than by ordinary parents.
Royal duties involved frequent foreign travel, but as Philip's family grew, he was determined to do things differently.
I always aim to be home during the holidays, anyway, so they can see the children. I mean, we try and keep the children out of the hospital, largely so they can go out with normally possible.
In 1969,
What's this for?
Philip allowed the TV cameras in for a behind-the-scenes documentary. This was the royal family, as never seen before or since, reportedly on the instruction of the Queen. Decisions such as schooling were his. Gordonston, the Scottish boarding school, had suited Philip as a youngster, and so that's where he chose to send his sons. While in later life, Prince Charles praised the school's ethos, his years there, far from home, were difficult.
Charles has his memories, and when it comes to Prince Philip's motive in what he was doing as a father, it was to try to toughen up his son, to correct what he perceived as weaknesses. I suppose ultimately to perhaps to recreate the self-reliant, self-confident boy that Philip was turned into by the Gordonston system.
Father and son did come to share common ground, however. The Duke passed on his love of painting and a passion for the environment and conservation. His relationship with his other children was more straightforward. The bond with Princess Anne was clear. Alike in many ways, she was outspoken, and she knew how to deal with her father's similarly frank manner. He shared a naval background with Prince Andrew, both having served in fields of conflict. And he may have been disappointed when Prince Edward chose to leave the Royal Marines, but over the years, their relationship grew ever closer. It was to his youngest son that Philip entrusted perhaps his greatest legacy, the Duke of Edinburgh's award.
What's my working with the father?
He doesn't. Crazy how these days would be.
Now, they will turn down that we can see Princess of Wales.
There were difficult years when the marriages of 3 of his 4 children failed, the most public, the split of Charles and Diana. What emerged much later, to the surprise of some, was the extent to which he tried to help. During the breakup, he'd written to his daughter-in-law, and the tone of his letters and her replies revealed a softer, compassionate side to the Duke rarely seen in public. Dearest Pa, she wrote in 1992 that she was pleased to receive his letter, and particularly so to read that he was desperately anxious to help. He replied, if invited, he would always do his utmost to help, but was quite ready to concede he had no talents as a marriage counsellor.
There was no doubt on her part that rough and stern though Philip has to be, that his motives were of the best, and she appreciated that.
In his 90s, public engagements became fewer, but family events like Princess Charlotte's christening remained a priority. In 2018, despite a recent hip replacement, he walked unaided into the chapel for his grandson Harry's wedding. 2 years later, isolating at Windsor, he was there for his granddaughter Beatrice.
A heavy program of official engagements prevents the princess and the duke from seeing their son as often as they wish. It is only on occasions like this that they can enjoy the happiness of parenthood.
It was a long life, where duty and family responsibility often came into conflict. The pandemic, as has been the case for so many families, deprived his loved ones of direct contact with him in his final months. His diminishing influence as the family patriarch coincided with a time of great public and private upset for the family. Perhaps the Duke's steady influence and forthright manner were missed. His children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren will be united in mourning his loss. Well, with me is our reporter Mark Lobel, the latest reaction from papers around the globe, and I'm sure that papers globally have been marking this and paying tribute to the Duke.
The papers and what world leaders are saying really are revealing not just who the Duke of Edinburgh was, but parts of his enormous character. Now, he was part of European royalty, and it was very interesting to hear Spain's King Felipe, one of his cousins, also a cousin of the Queen, with a very touching telegram saying, it starts, "Dear Aunt Lilibet," using the pet name that the Duke of Edinburgh has for the Queen there, a message to mourn the passing of dear Uncle Philip. We will never forget the moments we all shared together. The one on the screen now in June 2017, the last state visit they had to the UK. Clearly a group of people that got on with each other very well, as were other royal families who sent in heartwarming tributes like the Belgian royal family, the Dutch royal family, and the Swedish royal family, including the King of Sweden, who talked about his shared love of sailing with the Duke of Edinburgh.
And also a lot of coverage on the front pages of both German and French newspapers.
That's right. If we have a look at Frankfurter's Allgemeine newspaper, we can see that famous photo just after the coronation in June 1953 of the Duke of Edinburgh with the Queen there. Angela Merkel saying that the Duke of Edinburgh's friendship with Germany, his straightforward nature and his sense of duty will remain unforgotten.
They have quite a complicated relationship with Germany, isn't it?
That's right. His sisters married German princes. He had a brother-in-law who was an active Nazi, and he, of course, himself fought in the Second World War, the Duke of Edinburgh. So I don't think any of his sisters were invited to his wedding at the time. Also very glowing tributes from France. If we look at the front page of Le Figaro, you can see the prince in his ceremonial uniform there. They say that he embodied the era of British history. And a fantastic tribute from President Emmanuel Macron, saying the Duke led an exemplary life, noting his bravery and commitment to youth and the environment.
They love him in uniform, didn't they? A lot of the photos you see on front pages, both of UK papers and international ones, showing him in his full military uniform, perhaps reflecting the huge respect globally for the service to the Crown.
Huge amount about duty, particularly to the Commonwealth, and the Foreign Secretary in Britain made reference to that as one of the key things that he'll remember about the Duke of Edinburgh. You know, there's 2.4 billion people, and particularly in Australia, we've heard tributes from Canada, we've heard tributes from all around. But there's a slightly different portrait doing the rounds online, which has been told by the White House press lobby journalist Paul Brandus, and it relates to the time in 1963 when John F. Kennedy was assassinated. And at the weekend of his funeral, the Queen couldn't actually travel because she was pregnant. So Prince Philip went to represent the country. And John F. Kennedy's wife, Jacqueline, was looking for their just under 3-year-old son, John Jr. So she opened the playroom door, and on the floor playing with him and all the toys was Prince Philip, asking her, John Jr. asking, "Where's Daddy?" And another touching image circulating where you see John Jr. standing, watching part of the funeral procession, holding his mother's hand, but also holding that of Prince Philip.
And of course, the Queen and Prince Philip keeping popular in America as well.
Hugely popular, and that really is coming out through the tributes that are being paid. Joe Biden covering every part of his life, talking about the fact that the Duke of Edinburgh took part in World War II, championed environmental causes, inspired young people, and looked after his family, the Commonwealth, and the UK. The Obamas, Michelle Obama, and President Obama, who knew them well, right up until being driven by the 94-year-old in 2016 around the royal grounds. Met them in 2009, were very nervous, but wrote this tribute. They said, "As two Americans, unaccustomed to palaces and pomp, we didn't know what to expect. We shouldn't have worried. The Queen, the Obamas right, the Prince Philip, immediately put us at ease with their grace and generosity, turning a ceremonial occasion into something far more natural, even comfortable." And a final quote from the Obamas. They say, "The Duke of Edinburgh showed the world what it meant to be a supportive husband to a powerful woman."
Amazing, Mark. Thank you very much for giving us an overview of what the global papers and global royalty have said about the Duke. Well, the world knew Prince Philip to be a man of strong views, but many people may not have known about his thirst for knowledge. He was fascinated by science politics, technology, and industry. Naturally inquisitive and highly innovative, he pioneered many news ideas long before they became popular.
It was the Duke's mission to combine tradition with the promotion of a forward-looking monarchy, to communicate using the latest technology. He fully supported televising the Queen's coronation in 1953, moving pictures from London that would be seen around the world. 16 years later, in 1969, he invited the cameras deeper into royal life, to see the family from the inside.
I wrote, when I used to come up to the Royal Lodge, I asked when I arrived on it, the king, he's in the garden, and I went out and there was nothing to be seen except a lot of terribly rude words and language coming out of a rhododendron bush.
He broke new ground by appearing in front of the cameras as a presenter.
At midnight tonight, the greatest concerted efforts ever made to observe and record the detailed facts of our world will commence.
40 minutes to get around the world. Well, it's going to be a bit of a rush. It may leave you a little bit muddled, but I don't think it matters very much.
He also took to the media as a campaigner.
We've got to make the best use of the skill and the brains of the people. We know perfectly well that people in this country have got a remarkable talent for things if they know how to do them. We ought to make the best use of those.
One particular branch of science appealed to him. Engineering held the key to just about everything.
Everything that wasn't invented by God was invented by an engineer.
He promoted the production of clean, sustainable energy. He was the senior fellow of the Royal Academy of Engineering that he helped found in 1976. He launched the Prince Philip Designers Prize and was the head of the judging panel for over 50 years, rewarding elegant scientific solutions. Technology he admired in the outside world, he brought into the royal household, here upgrading communications with an intercom system.
I can't get there except if I fly, is that right?
Theoretically possible to the 3-hour drive for these cars.
He was a pioneer when it came to transport, an early user of fuel less damaging to the environment. So much of royal life is about pageantry, ceremony, tradition, and the past. The Duke of Edinburgh always kept an eye on the future.
For last November, the Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh celebrated 73 years of marriage. Here, in their own words, they reflect on their unique partnership.
The fact of the matter is that a marriage involves two partners. When there's lots to do, time seems to fly. It appears to us, at least, that we've been fairly busy over the last 50 years. And the time has, of course, flashed past. Until, that is, you start looking back and try to recall what things were like 50 years ago. And you begin to realize how much has changed. In the autumn of 1947, we got married. Everyone seemed to think that our wedding was a very happy occasion and brought a little colour back to life after the dreary war years. We certainly thought so. We were then fortunate to enjoy 5 happy years of fairly conventional married life. And that included 2 years with a home of our own in Malta, while I was in the Navy. Of course, this period came to an abrupt end when the Queen had the melancholy duty of succeeding her father after his premature death in 1952. She was 25 and I was 30, and we had 2 small children. And life, as you can imagine, changed dramatically in many ways, but it had much less effect on our married life than I anticipated. And then after an interval of 10 hectic years, we had 2 more children and were more or less settled into our new way of life. And like all families, we went through the full range of pleasures and tribulations of bringing up children. Much can be done by an individual, but I'm sufficiently old-fashioned to believe that a great deal more can be achieved by a partnership in marriage.
All too often, I fear Prince Philip has had to listen to me speaking. Frequently, we have discussed my intended speech beforehand, and as you will imagine, his views have been expressed in a forthright manner.
The main lesson that we've learned is that tolerance is the one essential ingredient of any happy marriage. It may not be quite so important when things are going well, but it is absolutely vital when things get difficult. And you can take it from me, the Queen has the quality of tolerance in abundance.
He is someone who doesn't take easily to compliments, but he has quite simply been my strength and stay all these years. And I and his whole family, and this and many other countries, owe him a debt greater than he would ever claim, or we shall ever know.
As a young man, Prince Philip enjoyed sailing and went on to join Dartmouth College in 1939 as a naval cadet. It was the start of a much-loved and pretty illustrious career in the Royal Navy.
Still a teenager at the outbreak of the war, Midshipman Philip first saw action with HMS Valiant in the Mediterranean.
Within 2 or 3 days, we joined the bombardment of the Italian-held port of Bavia in North Africa. And it was quite impressive, a lot of 15-inch guns going off, which I hadn't heard before. Suddenly realized life is for real.
March 1941. HMS Valiant off the southwest coast of Greece.
Cape Matapan, the Italians were caught. A few guns were fired, but quite without effect, and the enemy's fate was sealed. The action continuing as night fell.
Prince Philip made this entry in his midshipman's log. My orders were that if any ship illuminated a target, I was to switch on and illuminate it for the rest of the fleet.
They said, well, illuminate, I switched things on, right? I spent sharing the charts. I actually found a cruiser, and with that, everybody started shooting.
His actions in the Battle of Cape Matapan earned him a mention in dispatches. In the last year of the war, he was second in command of a new destroyer, HMS Well, in the Pacific Fleet. The summer of 1945, heading for Japan.
Being in Tokyo Bay, with the surrender ceremony taking place in the battleship, which was what, 200 yards away, you could see what was going on with a pair of binoculars. Well, it was a great relief, and it was suddenly feeling that life was different.
5 years after the end of the Second World War, he was back in the Mediterranean, in command of his first ship, HMS Magpie, stationed in Malta. The prince and his young wife, Princess Elizabeth, the Maltesers, two of the happiest of their lives. Cut short by news of King George's failing health. His career in the Royal Navy was over. From now on, he was the new Queen's consort. But he would always look back on his time at sea as a deeply significant period of his life.
I'm particularly proud to do this because, like all of us who served in the Navy during the war, I lost many friends and shipmates who are commemorated here.
Sort of back at the live after Duke of Edinburgh. Flags will be flying at half-mast across all buildings, official buildings in the United Kingdom. Parliament will reconvene MPs to make their own tributes when Parliament comes back together in Westminster. We're also hearing that gun salutes to mark the death of the Duke are due to take place later across the UK and in Gibraltar, and from warships at sea. Saluting batteries will fire 41 rounds, so 1 round every minute from 12 o'clock, which is summertime, in cities including London, Edinburgh, Cardiff and Belfast. You're watching BBC News. Bye-bye.
After a brief rise in temperature certainly across southern areas, the cold air is making a return again down from the Arctic right across the UK. So this weekend is going to be cold, with some sunshine around and some wintry showers too, and even some rain, particularly across southern and southeastern and closer to this weather front, which will be lying mainly across the near continent. But we have that feed of Arctic northerly air running down across the Pacific, feeding plenty of showers to mainly northern parts of Scotland. It starts Saturday morning. There will be further accumulations of snow over the high ground. Further south, the cold frosty starts right into the sunshine, but through the day, showers will develop pretty much anywhere. And again, there'll be hail, sleet, and snow over the high ground. Across the southeast corner, there will stay cloudy without the rain closer to that weather in the near continent. And it's going to be a cold day wherever you are, temperatures from 4 to 9 degrees. It's well below par this time of year. Through Saturday night, it stays cold and further showers through central and northern areas, again wintry in nature. And we'll slowly see that rain and cloud easing away from the southeast. It's still the hangback of cloud, which is on almost below 4 degrees here, but elsewhere, and a cold night with a widespread frost and watch out with speed. For Sunday, then we lose those weather fronts, and then we're all in a run of northerly winds, and again, it's going to be on those days, sunshine and wintry showers. A brighter day as well for the southeast corner of the country. We lose that weather front, and then after a cold, a frosty start with sunshine and wintry showers, again, with some snow over the hills. A very cold day to come wherever you are, highs of 5 to 9 Celsius. So that's the weekend's weather. As we head on into the new week, high pressure tries to build into southern areas, but we have these weather fronts across western areas. That will introduce more cloud at times. I'm currently thinking for Mondays that Northern Ireland, Wales, the Midlands and the southwest could be the biggest cloud with our rain. Maybe the high ground the north. It could be drier with some sunshine. Temperatures creeping up a little bit across the south, 10, 11 degrees, and the cold ones to come elsewhere. But as we move through the new working week, you can see the cut off that air from the north, and temperatures will slowly, finally, be recovering close to normal.
Ano ba yan? Sira.
Pero nagagamit.
Oo.
Bilis na ano ah.
Kaya nga sabi ko,
Bakit pa?
sinabi ko nga hindi yung ganyan bibili eh.
Mga ganito kasi maganda siya pero hindi, parang hindi ka ano yung katagalan.
Good morning, welcome to breakfast. We're ready to go.
Headlines today. Solitary still vacated across the UK from after death of the manager at the age of 90.
Details about the all as usual with later and the royal family home. What? Private husband and wife. You are having problems. You can always go to them, and you know that you will listen and find hope. And you probably want to
A man and his relatives this morning on breakfast will treat the personal friends of the group and those who died to come. This crazy world has been very, very pleased with the new silence with our family.
but towards that harm
is free to see. I don't do well when we further to the ground now. Still going to
Nagbago kami na umaga. Nagbago ako kanina umaga. Hindi na ko.
As far too many people who've lost loved ones over the last year will know, decisions have to be made about the funeral arrangements, and the Queen is approving those at the moment. The details are expected to be released later today, and plans have been in place for years as to how to mark the passing of such an important public figure, but the pandemic has required changes to those plans. It's been made very clear that any event which might draw a crowd is to be avoided, and COVID restrictions will be observed at all times. There will be no lying in state, there will be no state funeral. As I say, exact details later, and also later today at midday there will be a death gun salute. 41 rounds, that's one every minute for 40 minutes, will be fired in cities across the UK, Gibraltar, and on various ships at sea. Now, gun salutes are a traditional way to mark a significant royal event, but will be particularly poignant today, bearing in mind Prince Philip's very strong association with the armed forces. Just a couple of other points. The government and the royal family are requesting that people don't gather at royal residences. We saw that yesterday, people very keen to come together and share their thoughts about Prince Philip. They're also asking that maybe a donation to charity be given rather than lay flowers. And there is
46.2.
that's now live on the royal website, and people are being asked to leave their messages of thanks, perhaps, to the Duke for his 7 decades of service, and of course
45-46 lang naman. Dati nung nagpiti na ako, umabot ako ng 47-48. Oh, 47-48 hanggang 49. Ano ba yun? Yung 47-48.
Rules that exist, of course, around travel, around social distancing, and that is what people are being advised. But nonetheless, I know that many flowers have been laid where you are. Tell us a little more.
So you saw a steady stream of people arrive here yesterday, Charlie, throughout the day.
So, ba ang daming gamit ni ate? Pak. Yan ang home service. Complete.
What does, however, remain are some of the many messages that are tied
So, yes, ma'am. How are you?
Enjoy.
the Royal Navy years, 73 years he spent by the Queen's side in public service.
Ay, nga pala. Inaano nga pala yan, no?
Thank you, Prince Philip, for your wonderful
Para-
pa yung anesthesia.
Oo.
family nations and Commonwealth.
Hindi katulad dun sa in-inject sa'yo na nararamdaman mo. Aray. Ouch.
Ayun ang nangyari.
That phrase often used by
Talagang
sailors.
explain
Nevertheless,
tapos
people have been arriving throughout the night, including big families who wanted to come and leave flowers for the Prince.
We're all quite cut up about it, really. I mean, I know we've been sick for a while, but when it actually happens, it's different, isn't it? So yeah, it was a sad moment, and obviously we talked to the family and decided we wanted to come down and you know.
So, it's British news.
If you take a look over my shoulder, you will of course see the flag now flying at half mast, and you can probably also make out the
Oh, hello, good morning. Good morning,
stood by the
UK.
Queen for so many
Good
years.
morning.
Celebrations and commemoration. I certainly have been here on many occasions seeing the royal family waving. That was part of our national life, our national picture. I think today, Charlie, people's thoughts will be moving towards the Queen.
Prince Philip died.
With being all with her.
Thank you for the moment. Thank you very much.
Kailan ta?
Alin?
Yung yung Prince Philip.
First Sea Lord and Chief of the Naval Staff.
Nasa kusina ako nag-ano ng breakfast.
Oh.
Pumasok sa kusina.
His generous
Then
spirit,
si
his delight in all aspects of the naval
sino?
service,
Tim.
and his deep understanding of our values.
Walang tahimik lang yung na yun si Prince Philip. Tahimik na pagkatao.
And he will really be deep in this by all of us.
So, kumusta naman yung nag-iisang isda namin? Yan. Masaya naman siya kahit mag-isa lang siya. Tsaka yung mga ni tita, para to sa mga niya. Para sa school, sa mga kids niya.
First joined the Royal Navy in 1939. Went on to become one of the youngest first
Ay, yun nga pala.
naval career
Ano ba yung sapatos ni Ate Juvie?
Sa labas.
Saan ko pa ilalagay? Ipapasok? Dito sa, ilalim?
Yeah.
My God, Jubita Auntie! Tan, 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 tan. Are. Ay. Pakipasok yung shoes ko, bebe. Ay, mali yung sapatos na nakuha ko. Kaya yung palang bago. Ano yung bago pala niya, nilabahan niya. O di wow. Ito pala yung niya. Yung shoesy niya. Shoesy ng kaibigan ko. Hello mga kapitbahay, kumusta po kayo? Okay, papasok natin dito. Yung shoes niya.
as a child and how the world has changed around him. A lot of people what he's had to adapt to. And just some of the imagery here gives you a very real sense of how much things have changed.
Well, you see that as well in these picture trees, and I have to say, there was an awful lot in the papers this morning. But
Oh, diba? May stand po ako. Bumili po ako ng stand.
And the Queen, particularly in those first 2 decades of their marriage, travelling around the world and meeting foreign leaders, and pictures there with Nelson Mandela in Cape Town in the year 2000. So he became very adept, didn't he, at dealing with those public situations.
And I think one of the things we're very much going to try and reflect this morning is, of course, a lot of people's thoughts immediately turning to the Queen. And I think there are quite a few of these in
So pareho tayo naka-black?
we've actually taken, this is in Hampshire. This was on their diamond wedding anniversary. So that was 2007. And a lot of people are saying, we're going to talk to
Nasaan yung isang mong phone?
as well as those new food service to some of the trends. And I think one of the things that is emerging, those who
Kwarto sa, sa gilid sa simento.
I think that these are, everyone's probably heard a few anecdotes. Hopefully we'll get some more of those this morning. And I think in some of these pictures, there's real sense of understanding about the relationships.
Yeah, even
which is
still,
something which is so.
after all these years, that they still have that ability. And there's something isn't there about a good marriage to make someone laugh.
Full na.
And just, I like this one. There are lots of pull-out sections today, but this from the Times is the front page is there pull out. But actually, you need to turn it round to get the full picture, because you can see he's playing polo on a bike, and you can just about see he's knocking a ball there in the corner. Maybe I should show you the whole picture there. There he is. I mean, he's a great sportsman, you know, he loves the outdoors, as we know, we've heard all the tributes as well.
So we'll have a lot of time for reflections this morning, but aware that it's 6:14 and Thomas has got the weather for us this morning.
Ilang oras nga yan ta?
Yan,
Yung dati lang ako yung natapos.
I'm thinking, particularly next week, Monday, we've got changes coming in with various
Parang mga
restrictions.
4:30 na.
So a lot of people hope maybe
Mag-1:30
there was a
na.
moment of time here.
Yeah, I mean, the weather, see, one thing that we had last year was obviously a very warm spring, at least the
Yeah,
beginning
it's
of
so
it, but
warm.
at the moment we're still in that chilly phase of weather. Wintry showers even through this weekend, and into next week, into Monday and Tuesday, when things start to ease a little. The weather's not looking all that warm. The weather has been coming in from the north, on and off for a good 10 days or so now. When we had that last cold snap, we are in somewhat of a cold snap again. You can see the winds coming in from the north, so wintry showers
across Scotland and the Pennines expected in places today. The mild air is to the south of us. In fact, there's a weather front straddling the English Channel, so we're overcast with some outbreaks of rain from Channel Islands, also to parts of southern and southeastern England as well as East Anglia. But north of that, where you've got the sunshine, the weather's better, but the air is colder. And temperatures in the north in some spots may not get any higher than around 3 degrees. And on top of that, we've got the wintry showers across the Highlands, parts of the Pennines as well. So on the whole, if you don't mind the chilly weather, actually it's not that bad. Now through tonight, I think a widespread frost on the way. There'll be a lot of clear weather around. Still a few wintry showers in Scotland. Some of them settling, so a little bit of dusting of snow here and there. But I think this pattern's going to continue certainly into Sunday. Now the weather front that's currently straddling the English Channel will move out into the continent tomorrow. So that does mean that tomorrow in the south there will be more sunshine around. But you can just get a suggestion of these wind arrows. You see the air coming in from the north, so that is cold air spreading still from the north across much of the country. We're talking about single figure temperatures on Sunday, below half of the time of the year, wintry showers mostly across the hills. But then into next week, it does turn, I'm going to say milder, but a little bit less cold, and that's because we lose that current cold air. You can see it's actually over the North Sea at this stage. In fact, this is a repeat performance of what we had almost last week or so. We see these westerly winds coming in, and they are bringing a bit more cloud. Slightly milder air, you can see 11 degrees, but still really mild air, which is way to the south of us, and you have to go all the way to the Mediterranean. So it's not going to be warming up in a hurry. You can see those temperatures getting rather disappointing, very steady flying to just about double figures by the time we get to Tuesday or Wednesday. So yes, Charlie, I would like something a little bit warmer, but there's no hints of it really on the horizon at the moment.
So thank you very much. See you later.
Catherine Philip had a particularly association automatic 4 days in a 1930s.
Here's me had a good holidays with family and family.
Paparamdam na yung battery. Paparamdam na yung battery ko.
At Hollywood, Paris, the lion rampant is roaring.
Hindi ko na yung...
The city that has long shared its name with
Okay na, malapit na rin siya ng 1 hour. Para charge ko rin.
His Royal Highness has died 2 months short of his 100th birthday.
I think we were said at this time, I think we're feeling any good you can.
Once again, great and have been radically saving higher time. So the huge loss for the country, especially in main server in Ballacor on Royal Deeside. Some remember a prince they met in person. The walking Balfour forest and this black region for walking. The Duke got out and was fixing something at the side of the road. It must have been 94.
A character that we should all identify with.
Yeah.
That. And I feel so sorry for the dear.
From his school days to big national moments like the opening of the Scottish Parliament, the Duke of Edinburgh's association with Scotland was lifelong. The royal couple were regular attendants of the Highland Games when they summered at Balmoral.
And people still love that visa because of the peace and quiet. And he loved it. Now he was comfort sport. He loved the training of the Malgana, about the day. He loved the constructive nature of hiking.
In Glasgow, full of memories and reflections.
Absolutely.
Ano, iniwan ako? Bigla ako iniwan sa ere.
Talagang bastos ka.
That is something very positive to give to the community. And from Inverness,
He kind of felt it was coming, but it was still a bit of a shock at the same time when he heard about it. Yeah, it was just like a shady like it's like 100, like it was like 100, and he was like a pillar of like the royal family and like a quite icon.
Mrs. Jessie Mendiola Manzano. Kasal na nga?
to remember a remarkable prince, Neville Edinburgh.
Garden wedding. Oh.
Right time for
Umiyak dito si Luis. Umiyak dito si Luis, tapos yung photo niya. Ang daming gumawa ng mga memes. Yung naubusan ka ng sabon. Yung naubusan. Ang daming ginano yung picture niya nung umiyak siya. So ano yan? Saan ba ito? Just got lucky. Eh, tingnan natin.
Yeah, right across the sporting world, tributes have been paid to.
Sabaw kayo dyan.
Premier League match last night was important. And that will be the case across all the professional matches in England and Scotland this weekend. There's also a period of silence ahead of England winning match against France last night. This game was one of the Football Association in the 50s, 1950s. And across football today, players, coaches, and matches will be wearing black armbands. Yes, the Grand National does go at 83 o'clock today. There'll be a 2-minute silence there, while the jockeys will also be invited to wear black armbands and flags for half-mast at the race course. Yesterday there was a 2-minute silence before the first race began. Jockeys, trainers, officials, all united. So the Duke of Edinburgh's sporting activities have provided him with a welcome opportunity to get away from the formal royal duties. For him, sport became an outlet for his restless energy. And Prince Philip also proved himself to be a keen and talented editor in a number of different sports. Our correspondent, Annie Swiss, looks back at the Duke's sporting life.
Prince Philip always enjoyed sport, and he often excelled at it. At school, he learned to love sailing, and as a wedding present, he and the Queen were given a Dragon-class yacht, Blue Bottle. His main sailing companion was a socialite Upper Fox, who became a lifelong friend. The two of them acquired something of a playboy image, although it didn't detract from their sailing prowess. Upper Fox once said of his sailing mate, "I've never known anyone to take a boat across the tide as skillfully as he does." Prince Philip would take part in the Royal Regatta of Cows for the next 50 years.
People in our modern kind of technological era, it really doesn't matter to them whether it rains or it blows or it's cold. We just get indoors or the thing I'm going to see is that something exposed to an element which you can't really control, you're subject to it. I think that's very good for the soul. And now,
as an enthusiastic cricketer, he also drew praise from high places.
Never moved across the leg.
He has a perfect action for a right hand off spin bowler.
Prince Philip would often play so others could benefit. He was a firm believer in recreation for all, and raised huge amounts of money over the years for the Playing Field Association. But it was on the polo field that the Duke was to grab most of the limelight, becoming one of the top 4 players in Britain in the mid-1960s, even though he started relatively late in the sport. He also made it more popular. The Duke's presence on the field put polo into the gossip columns.
Ikaw!
And they were really trying to watch it, not the polo, but of course, there's only some who got interest in polo, and made a habit of watching.
He had to stop playing polo when he was 50 because of arthritis in his hands. But he noticed another equestrian sport far more popular in countries like Germany and Hungary.
Ano na lang ba yan? Tingnan mo ba yan?
Carriage driving became his new passion. He was even responsible for drawing up the rules and worked tirelessly to raise the profile of the sport, as well as competing in the British team.
Great Britain was represented by George Bowman.
His fellow teammate George Bowman was one of the more unlikely friendships that Prince made in his sporting life.
I was a scrap match. And of course, he was Prince. And at times people make a lot about this, but he never kept me any different. The old sneak up and like a week. That was one of the things I really had worried about.
Despite some hair-raising spills along the way, such as here when his carriage hit a concrete block, the Duke carried on driving well into old age. In Greek, the name Philip means lover of horses, and the way he handled his animals was a measure of both the man and his sportsmanship.
That's a really wonderful picture of memories there. And it wasn't just his own sport. Of course, the Duke of Edinburgh, being I've seen it firsthand, how he's inspired millions of youngsters to try and sport. It was all being useful because that is part of the award scheme.
You've been there giving out.
Yeah, I've been lucky enough to go along in my time just to try and help present the awards to some of Goldman as my own daughter got involved in sport for the first time through the Bronze Award, trying to teach my Zumba. Pick whatever sport you want.
That was si Alex.
Get involved in something new that they didn't really have access to. But you know, I think it's all more about it.
Yeah, we are. We're going to talk to someone in Australia actually, because it was a global scheme, obviously right throughout the Commonwealth. But if you, this morning have anything that's actually the Rome, that's a huge big part thing. We'd love to hear from you. Actually, if you're breakfast, to get in touch with us. You or Carl Grandfather's been involved in the Award.
Low bat na ako, low bat na.
How it inspired you.
It's done at 6:27. So leaders from around the world are participating in raising his life as music.
And those offerings that can go to the King and the King of Spain, who are President Joe Biden, who said that the future will live on through all the charitable